Hello and welcome to episode 90 of our Conversation to Connect, Let's Get Real podcast powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi O'Neill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. Our conversation to connect today is with the amazing Mari Wuellner. Did I pronounce that right, Mari?
Nailed it.
All
Nailed it.
right. Joining us from Burlington, Washington. Welcome, Mari.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We've connected a couple times prior to this, and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a minute. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I feel like I've known you forever. You know how you meet some people and it's just like you click and you feel like, you can talk about anything and it's just a lot
Mm.
of ease in that. And so I am so looking forward to the possibility, exploring the possibility of the topic that you and I have talked about, living on purpose, the power of granting yourself permission. I know that's something you're very passionate about. So today we're diving into a topic that touches every one of us. How many of you have found yourself saying yes when you really wanted to say no, or putting everyone else's dreams ahead of your own, or waiting for the perfect time to pursue something that's been tugging at your heart? Well, our guest today believes that the biggest obstacle isn't a lack of ability, it's that we're waiting for someone else to give us permission to live the life that we're meant to live. So, Mari Woolner has built her life around one powerful principle: grant yourself permission. And before we dive into this rich conversation, I want to take a moment to introduce Mari to you. So, Mari Woolner is the CEO and founder of Crew Life Coaching Collective, an insurance agency owner who has built her life around one principle, like I mentioned earlier: grant yourself permission. At 24, as a college dropout and single mom, she granted herself permission to try anyway and built her agency from 0 to 3 million. Good for you, girl. Then she granted herself permission to step back and pursue coaching. She helps women stop living in a state of default and move into purpose by teaching them to grant themselves the permission slips. I love that term. That's so great. The
Mm.
permission slips they've been waiting for: permission to rest, permission to say no, to start over, to change direction, and to prioritize ourselves without guilt. Her mission: help people stop waiting for validation and start living on purpose, one permission slip at a time. So, welcome again, Mari. And I'm excited for today's conversation. And before we get going here, I want you to just give a little more background about your journey as we kick off our
Mm.
discussion today.
Okay, awesome. Well, taking you all the way back, went to Catholic school, went to Gonzaga University, go Zags. My junior year of college, I was studying over in Florence, Italy. It was a full year, and I got pregnant over there. So dropped out of college, moved home with the parents, and started my work life. And juicy stories in there, but decided to go out on my own, open my own insurance agency in 2008, and started my entrepreneurial journey then. I quickly grew the agency. I started from scratch back then, which means they give you nothing. Sometimes some agencies you can buy or get policies. I just started with zero, with nothing, and grew really quickly, and hired a business coach, Elise Enriquez, who's still my coach, and she's a crew faculty coach as well. And during coaching with her, she helped me realize I should probably start coaching my team. Like, I was a dictator back then. I wouldn't even call myself a leader. It was, in looking back, it's just so cringy how I was running business. But through her guidance, I started coaching my team, and after I started building the rapport with them, they started asking me things like, "Hey, I'm good on the business side. Thanks for teaching me how to sell insurance, but can I ask you a question about my roommate? Or, hey, I have this like nagging credit card debt that I just can't figure out how to pay off. Can we talk about that? So I naturally started coaching my team and realized that the happier and more fulfilled people are, the better they're going to show up at work. And so I really then invested in their entire life, their work inside my agency, and then their life outside, which is far more important than any job we will ever do. And this was way back when, before coaching, and I would post on social media, it's Monday, it's my favorite day. I'm coaching my team. And organically, folks started reaching out and said, hey, would you coach me? I was like, oh, sure, I'll do that. That sounds like fun. And so about 13 years I've been coaching. I still have the insurance agency. And over those 13 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the coaching industry. And I've seen a lot of gatekeeping, um, and a lot of guru influencer mentality, right? Where one coach can solve all your problems. And it just was getting hard to see. And I thought, what if I did something different? And so then I created the crew, a faculty model, a very accessible, at $97 a month, you have access to 6 coaches, and really making coaching available to all women, not just rich white women. So I'm in the middle of disrupting the coaching industry, doing it differently. I still believe in one-on-one, absolutely. I still have a one-on-one coach. This is just a broad collective that I've created. And 3 kids, have a podcast, love to travel, love to surf, and love wine. How'd I do?
Mhm. Awesome. And you're a
That's,
runner. You're a runner too,
oh
right?
my gosh,
Getting back into running.
I'm getting back into running. I started running in high school. So I'm like 3 decades now but I will do a half marathon and then in a rage, throw my shoes into the back of the closet where they sit for a year and a half. I don't know if anybody else has habits like that. And so I'm getting back into running, and I'm giving myself permission to start really, really small. I'm talking, when I started about 3 months ago, my goal, a quarter of a mile. And I post about it because it's like, nobody posts the quarter of a mile. People post the crossing the finish lines and the big medals and the sweat dripping. And I'm like posting the side ache, like not feeling good after a quarter of a mile. And so getting back into it, I'm up to 2 miles, but it hasn't been pretty. And I'm showing that. I'm showing that on the socials because I want women to grant themselves permission to start small, ugly, not post worthy, kind of gritty, right?
Well, you're being
And
real. You're being real. You have to start someplace. I was
but
in track
yes.
in high school also. Um, my story, not to diverge too much, is my sister was on the oh gosh, I call it was like a road runners, like it wasn't just recreational track and field. She was like with the big dogs. And remember Mary Decker in the old days? Hearing about Mary
Oh,
Decker? My sister was touted as the next Mary Decker.
oh,
She was
wow.
so fast. And so my sister said there's a lot of cute boys on the track team. And I was I was actually on the tennis team a lot. So it was between seasons. And I was not fast, not fast. My sister was the rabbit. I was the tortoise. But, it was fun. I enjoyed it. We had a great time, and I won't be getting into running. I'll probably get back into tennis again, but good for
Fun.
you. And I love the way you make it accessible by being real. You got to get started somehow. You're not going to get back into a marathon or a half marathon in a day. It's going to take a minute, right?
Yeah, in this culture that we live in of instant gratification, which believe me, I love. I love me some DoorDash. I love me some ClickList, right? I love AI and I can just get my question answered right away. But in this culture of that instant gratification, it's easy to fall into the trap of I should be able to do it right away. I should be able to go from 0 to 100 without the blood, sweat, and tears. and the setbacks that come along with goal getting. And so that is one of the things I am proud of on my social media because I do show the messy middle,
Yeah.
even though it's not pretty.
Well, I love that you're using should because what I heard is we got to stop shitting on ourselves, right? We've got to start just being, being kind, being generous, being gracious, starting small, staying in the game. I value grit over doing things perfectly, just not giving
Yeah.
up. As long as we don't give up, we can't lose. We're still
Beautiful.
in the
Grit.
game, right?
I wish I could turn my screen around. I have all my vision boards here from the past like 10 years, and my word for 2026 is grit. So it's up on my vision
Oh,
board right there.
such a good word. I love that. Um, okay, let's dive in here because I love that you and I have been able to, off screen, be able to get to know each other. And I really love your model and your idea of living in default mode. So I think
Mm,
many people are so busy surviving that they don't even realize that they're living in autopilot. So what does living in default mode actually look like?
yeah. I love this question so much because this was me, right? And I believe that as women, we're given a checklist at a very young age of here's how you live life and here's how you become successful. And the checklist looks like, college, get a degree, get a job, get married, have some kids, start a 401k, buy a house, dun, 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 dun. Like you've made it and you're happy. Also be skinny and look pretty. Do those two things. Don't forget that. That's on our checklist. And we get into that. We're seduced by culture at large into believing that that default, that checklist is the only way to do it. And I obviously messed up big time by getting pregnant out of wedlock and dropping out of college. And so my checklist really got messed up early, and I'm so grateful for it. But it was still like even opening the insurance agency in 2008. That's so long ago. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for so long. It was a very male dominated industry. And again, like we're given these checklists over and over. You get married, you get a partner. Here's the checklist. You become a mom. Here's the perfect mom checklist. And that is default. And
Mhm.
not often enough do we take a beat and say, which checklist am I living off of? And are they the ones that I want to be living off of? Am I doing life on purpose or am I living by someone else's version of how they think I should live? And it is a seduction, I believe, because to go against the grain, to be the black sheep is real, real hard. And so my invitation is to just take a minute and ask yourself, like, how am I living on default? And some of the checklists, like some of the default that we might be in, we might love it. We might love doing life that way. And if there's other ways that you're feeling a little unfulfilled, unsettled, bored, Groundhog's Day, can we take a step back and ask ourselves, like, if I were to give myself permission to do something differently, what would that be?
That's a good question. I love your, just giving us permission. There we go, right?
Yeah.
To recognize when we've stopped intentionally designing our lives. Because we can think we're doing it and then all of a sudden we realize, wait a minute, how did I get off course here? How did I end up living in a default mode where I'm not making a choice consciously. It's more a knee jerk and it's
Hmm.
unconscious.
Hmm.
So I know part of it for you that I love is you teach the first step is to define. Can you explain what it means to truly define what we want, not what we think that here's the should word again, that we
Hmm.
should want?
Yeah. This is just the first step that takes a minute. Because I think we know what we want, but have we really defined it? Have we really gotten granular, gotten asked ourselves why enough times to understand the reason that we're on this path? And so the first step in my framework is to define a life on purpose, define what you want out of each area. So um faith or finance, fitness, friendship and fun. I'm doing a lot of alliteration here.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships,
Mm-hmm.
education, personal growth and development, philanthropy. There's so many aspects to us. There's so many beautiful aspects to us, and I think it's really important to get pretty clear on what we want out of each of those aspects and understand it's going to ebb and flow, understand things are going to change, understand you're going to pursue something, you're going to design, you're going to define what you want. We're going to get into the other steps later. Maybe you actually get it and then step back and ask yourself, like, is this what I want? I have a juicy story on failure and on that if we want to get into it. But define what you want out of your life in all aspects, and also like be be selfish. Like this is, yeah, have fun. Make this all about you. One of the things I absolutely hate hearing is women are told this. They're told, put your own oxygen mask on first so you can help other people. Or women are told, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, what does that imply? The only reason for me to fill my cup is to pour. Like it implies the only reason to put on our own oxygen mask is to save someone else. Like we're worth saving. We're worth filling our own cup just to have a full cup. And what I tell women in the crew is if you just keep pouring into your cup, what's going to happen is going to overflow and everybody gets the goodness that's just pouring out. You don't have to pour all the time. So when you're defining, I want you to get granular, kind of selfish, and vain. Like be the things that we're told not to be for a minute and see what comes up, see what happens.
I love your perspective on putting the mask on because you're right. The implication is we're doing it to save or to help somebody else, not to, for us, that we're worth it. Because we need to separate our own dreams and expectations from that of our family, our culture, our society, our friends. It needs to be something that comes from within, right?
Yes, bingo. And this is kind of a rebellious act to do it this way, right?
It is when you think about society and our culture and how things have, gone before. But you know what? I want to pedal back a moment because
Yeah, yeah.
you mentioned failure, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to miss this juicy moment because we learn from each other's experiences.
Mhm.
And so, and I think failure is such an important contrast because we think of it as like a mistake, the end, something we have to make up, but we lose sight of the fact of the lessons that come from that
Mhm.
and the catapult to something greater when we experience that. So I would love to, and I'm sure there's many listeners that want to learn vicariously
Yeah.
from you as well. So go for it.
This is also what we don't see on the socials, right? We don't see like the 17 launches that failed before the $1 million launch. We only hear about the $1 million launch, and it's like, give it to me real.
Right.
So
Well, that's what we're
for a
about
debt.
here. That's what we're about at Conversations to Connect. Let's get real. We want to
Oh, I
hear
love
about,
that
we want
tagline.
to be able to really, when we share genuinely, we can benefit.
Hmm.
It's relatable. So
Yeah.
thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and share
Hmm.
your journey.
Yeah. So for the last decade, I've had this huge dream, and I defined it. I really did. I got real granular. I wanted to live on a lake. I knew the lake I wanted to live on. I knew I wanted a yard and a boat lift, and I could see myself paddleboarding in the mornings. And this was a dream for 10 years. 10 years, I went after it. And in March of 25, we bought our dream house on the lake here in Mount Vernon. And we moved in. It's interesting how the universe kind of gives you exactly if you let it. My favorite book is The Alchemist. Um, and the world was conspiring in my favor. And so the way it turned out is we were set to close, and the seller realized that he had a prepayment penalty. So he asked if we would do a lease to own situation for like 3 months before we close. Fine, fine. We can help you out. Like, I get it. So we're living in this place with a lease option, and I hated it. I hated everything about it. We'd have people over, like my parents would come over, my sister and my nieces and nephew, and everybody's outside. Tom found me multiple times in our bedroom. Like I'd put a face mask on and I'd just be crying. He's like, what is going on? And I was like, this isn't it.
Mm.
My nervous system was a wreck. I have a 16-year-old, so he was 15 at the time, and he has rambunctious friends, and they have jet skis and boats, and everyone was constantly coming over. And I was worried sick all summer. I mean, I turned into someone, I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty chill mom. I turned into a psycho. So I would be on the deck screaming at the boys, get your life jacket on. I'm like, who am I? This is not who I want to be. This is not the vision that I had. And so we got out of the contract and we sold it and we left the lake. And it feels like the biggest failure because who doesn't want to live on a lake? Who doesn't want to live on a water? Who doesn't want to realize dreams and then like brag about it?
Mm.
And it was, yeah, probably like the biggest failure getting something I thought I wanted, having it not be what I wanted. But I think the biggest win was being honest with ourselves and changing course because it would have been so easy just to stay there. People thought we're crazy. They're like, you're moving back to just town? I'm like, all I want is town. All I want is like simple and boring. It was too much for me. I couldn't handle it. That's the honest truth. And from that failure, I realized so much. But also, the biggest thing that I think I realized is I'm so glad I did it and failed because to live with the regret of not trying would have been brutal. And so I also want women to try and knowing like it's a crapshoot, 50-50. Who knows if you're gonna like writing a book? Who knows if you're gonna like doing a podcast? Who knows if you're gonna like running? The crapshoot, we're just experimenting. But to live with the regret of not trying, I think that's more of the failure.
Mm. Well, you got clear. It gave you clarity. That whole situation gave you the
Mhm.
clarity you needed to step into living the life you love and not having regrets. So I think it took a lot of courage to,
It was,
you make up, and you commit, like you committed to him. We're going to lease and we're going to purchase. And then you changed course. Sometimes you feel out of integrity, but you hadn't signed the paperwork yet. It could have
mm,
been either way. And,
absolutely. And there
I
were a
think
lot of
that's
people giving us advice on like, you can just walk away. You can just, like, I'm negotiating this. Like, I'm not leaving this guy high and dry. I believe in karma. So we had to pay some money. It was an expensive mistake, it was an expensive failure. But I also believe in kindness and living in integrity. And so we did it the way that felt good, even though it
right.
wasn't financially as beneficial, but whatever, it's fine. Um, so yeah.
But that leads into kind of the next thing I was thinking about when I was just kind of getting ready for this conversation is you're giving yourself your personal permission slip, right? To do things in a way that's going to benefit your family. You had a glimpse of the future and you decided, that's not a future I'm going to walk in. So one thing I appreciate about your teaching so much, Mari, is that it comes from experience,
Mm,
that you weren't born thinking this way. You've lived it, right? So, can you share, because you and I talked about this a little bit about your Thanksgiving and how you walked away from your family because you realized
mm,
you were completely burned out. So these
yeah.
stories are so valuable because they do give people
Mm,
permission to take a look
yeah.
at their life and say, okay, do I need to pause? Do I need to, to turn right, turn left, go backwards. We all have that opportunity, but we think we're locked in sometimes. So tell us what happened.
Absolutely. I mean, Thanksgiving, that's a total lock-in. Like we are totally told exactly how to do Thanksgiving. You do it all. Yes, it's just like
Burn
you do it all.
yourself out.
You burn yourself out. You get zero thanks, maybe, all the things. And so it was about that time I was really burned out in business and life. And I wasn't, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was really sad. I was in like a sad season. I don't know if you guys have ever had just a sad season. I was like just kind of low. And I said to Elise, my coach, I said, I just want to run away. I do. I just want to run away, especially for Thanksgiving. I don't want to be thankful. Like I want to be true to how I feel. And right now I feel sad and that's okay. It's okay to feel this way. And she said, well, you can. And she said, where would you want to run away to? And I said, I don't want to run away anywhere happy. Like, I don't want to go sit on a beach. I don't want to go just drink Mai Tais. I don't want to go somewhere warm. I want to go somewhere where I can be in my feelings, like sit in the yuck and the muck. And I thought, what's the saddest place I can think of? And the saddest place I can think of was Florence, Italy, where I got pregnant. I was living over there at 20, got pregnant. My parents didn't have enough money to send me home. They made me finish that year over there. So 4 months living in a foreign country. They didn't even have prenatal vitamins. I had to take the priest Centrum Silver, no joke. It just was hard. The priests were taking me to my doctor's appointments, going to the Jesuits. And I was so sad. And so I told Tom, I said, I need to run away and I'm taking myself to Italy over Thanksgiving. Please support me. He did so begrudgingly. We literally just talked about this the other day. And I went and I kept a journal. I'm a big journaler. And so I kept a journal of my experience in Italy 24 years ago. And I thought, you know what would be kind of cool is if I healed her. Like if this 40-year-old version went back to the places that 20-year-old version was there and sat and like read the journal and then wrote back to her and just had this real cool experience of like dealing with my sadness today by healing the sadness of 2 decades ago.
Mm.
And so I would take myself out to, wine or where all the places, and I would bring my old journal and I would read an entry and then I would journal back. I was a wild one. Oh my gosh, that journal, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote this down. Some of the stuff you do at 20, because there's no social media, thank God. Anyway, that experience is the last day sitting at the church, Santa Maria Novella, where I went every single day 20 years ago and just cried in church. And I read the last journal entry and I read a letter that my son's, my baby daddy wrote me. We were never together. And it dawned on me that it was I can just get weepy every time I tell a story. It was the 20-year-old who I needed to visit to heal the 40-year-old version.
Wow.
And the family was a wreck. They said it was the worst Thanksgiving they've ever had on record. You know,
Of
they
course, they didn't have you
suffer.
to do everything for them.
I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And so I did. I grant myself permission to like literally abandon my family over Thanksgiving to go be sad, to go heal, to put on my own oxygen mask, full stop, for no other reason. Nobody needed it except for me. So permission to give ourselves that.
Hmm. That's such a beautiful picture of being able to go back to the past, back to a place to be able to heal that 20-year-old Madi, who you were in a different place now than, later than 20 years ago, right? And you can see that differently. You can have more
Mhm.
compassion. I
Mhm.
just think that is such a beautiful example of self-care.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times we just push through things. We just push through it as women and we just suck it up. And I love the example of being able to pause, ask for what you need, go for it. And I'm imagining, I don't know, I want you to tell us, put a bow around it here. Coming back, how did you feel? How did that take a lot of burden off of you? Did that
Yeah,
free you up? What?
I was totally restored. That might be an exaggeration. I was pretty restored. Like
You were on
I
the road to restoration, right?
I was, and I wanted to come home. I think that was like I wanted so badly to run away, and then I wanted to come home. So the
Mhm.
bow is it gave me exactly what I needed in more ways than I ever could have imagined. And yes, I have the luxury. This is I have the luxury of being able to do that. I
Mm.
know not all women can do that, but can we do it in like bite size? Baby little bite-sized chunks, right? Buck the system, like go against the grain. If every time after you have dinner, your job is to put the dishes away, can you skip that for a night and go take yourself on a walk? Like, how can you give yourself these little doses, like micro dose, that self-care, that restoration when you need it? But if you can, if you have the ability, I highly recommend a solo vacation.
I love that because you're taking yourself out of autopilot when you do that. You're disrupting. They say even, this is kind of weird, but they say even if you are right-handed, which I am, and you brush your teeth with your left hand, that does some really amazing things to your neural pathways. Just doing that different. So
Hmm.
you're disrupting these patterns. Normally you get up and do the dishes or whatever, make your bed. Not that it's not good to have structure and systems in your home, but having those disruptions and not being in autopilot all the time, there's something pretty magical about that, isn't there?
I agree. I agree. And also, you sharing your story about running in high school and how that's where my journey started, it reminded me of going out for the golf team in high school. I'd never golfed a day in my life. Like it's you going out for track and you're like, I'm a turtle. But back then, it's like that's why she healed me because that version of me, that 20-year-old version was so unafraid. She was so willing to try things like golf, willing to look foolish, willing to do things that culturally we're not supposed to. And I think we all could take a page book out of our younger self and to create those neural pathways to try something new. So often we're just
Mm.
stuck in our own day to day, and we're like, oh, it'd be nice to learn the guitar. Oh, it'd be like nice to learn how to dance. I just took my first hip hop dance class, and I just had my first recital.
So fun.
I'm pretty proud of that.
Good for
Uh,
you.
but taking a page out of our own book and like, what can I do? What can I do that's youthful, that's playful? Because those things also change those neural pathways. Learning something new, and it's really never too late.
No, it's not. It's not. It really keeps things fresh. Okay, let's move from define to design. So
Yeah.
once someone gets honest, like you described to us, you
Mhm.
illustrated your journey about what they really want, perhaps they've realized they're exhausted, they're stuck, they're people pleasing, they're
Mhm.
successful but not fulfilled. So what's next? You call the
Yeah.
next step design. So how do we intentionally design a life around our
Mhm.
values instead of simply reacting to everyone else's priorities?
Yeah. Once you have the define down, I think it becomes kind of easy to design a plan. Design is just a game plan, and the way I like to run my game plan is through experiments. Right? If I want to make $10,000 extra in the next couple months, I don't really know the perfect design, but I can create a hypothesis of how I'm going to get what I want, and then run an experiment to see if it worked, right? That's it. We just are experimenters. We're curious students of life. We get to design kind of like a business plan. We don't know if a business plan is going to work, but it's an experiment. And then when things are working, all right, keep going. And then with these experiments, if things fail or go sideways or didn't work out the way we thought, we get to tweak. I love experiments. I also love copying people. There is someone getting inspiration, getting a mentor, getting a coach. There's someone who has the life or the aspect of life, right? That faith, that finance, that side hustle. There's someone out there who's already done it. There's no reason for us to recreate the wheel. Pick up the phone. How did you design that? Cyndi, how did you design this cool networking, this amazing networking community that's lasted? The test of time. You're coming up on 18 years. That's unheard of. That's amazing. And so when we're in our design phase, yes, have fun, experiment, and also go do some research and find out who's made it and can you replicate some of those pieces and use that in the experiments.
Because we can learn from each other. We don't have to, we can learn vicariously. We don't have to make all the mistakes, right? I love that.
That
That's
is
so
why, yeah,
important.
absolutely.
Okay, permission to say no. Can I get a drum roll, please?
I know.
Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about something that affects almost all of us.
hmm
Okay, raise your hand if you're out there listening. Anybody ever feel guilt? Especially women. Okay.
hmm
Any moms out there?
hmm
Any, business owners? So many of
hmm
us have been conditioned to believe that taking care of themselves somehow means that they're being selfish or they're neglecting others, like, family.
Yeah.
But how do you help people? How do you
Yeah.
help others out there who are struggling through feeling
hmm
guilty?
Yeah. Well, this comes into the third piece of my framework, which is the demand. So we define what we want, we design a plan, and then we demand it. And boundaries and saying no is part of that. My quick tip or answer to that question is practice. There's no hack here. There's no like magic bullet that's I'm going to say the perfect words and now you're going to be able to go out and say no to everybody and feel zero guilt about that. I do not believe in hacks and quick fixes when it comes to things like this. But how can we practice? How can we practice um, saying no in integrity? There's something else that women are told that I also can't stand, and it's no is a complete sentence. Okay, we get that, but come on. Like, are we really the type of women when we are asked a favor to just say no? No, we're going to say, like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking. I don't have the capacity right now. Hit me up in 6 months. Or, no, it's not in my wheelhouse right now, but let me connect you with someone who might be able to say yes. So we're fed these things like these quick lines, like, no is a complete sentence. Like, yeah, right. We just, that's not in my integrity. And
Yeah.
most women, I think that's the hang up is we think we're just supposed to just say no, you know?
It
Um,
feels out of integrity to just, like you say, too abrupt. Like you want to give,
yes.
not that you need to have a reason, but I love what you said. I'm not up to it.
I'm
This
not
is
up
not a good
to,
time. I'm sorry. I would love to be able to
yeah,
support you. Now is not a good time. And that's
absolutely.
being honest and you can, but I can do this for you. i
hmm
can i can pray for
hmm
you, or I've got somebody that I can put you in contact
Yeah.
with that'd be a great resource. So there's always something we can offer, right? But not
Yes.
at the expense of our health,
hmm
our integrity. I love what you say, because really it's building a muscle, just like your illustration earlier of running and starting at a quarter mile. You're
hmm
not doing a marathon tomorrow. You
hmm
have to start someplace. We have to build that muscle. We
Yeah.
have to start small and then be consistent, and that grit factor that we talked about is
hmm
so
hmm
important.
Yeah.
That's a quality that I've come to admire in others, and
mm
really aspire to myself as being a person of grit. Like I don't give up. So
Yeah.
if somebody asks me, how did you get to 17 years, Cyndi? Well, I didn't give up. That's what sets
Mhm.
me apart. That's my secret sauce that sets me apart from others. I don't give up. Where others give up, I don't. And, so if you do want to be somebody who has longevity, don't give up.
Mhm.
You can reinvent yourself, you can tweak it, you can change things up, but don't stop. Like with you,
Absolutely.
kept going. Now your insurance company continues on today, but
Hmm.
you're in a different capacity. You're not hands-on anymore.
Yeah, my team runs my agency.
That's beautiful. And you're
It
developing
is.
yourself in a new way, and you're
It
helping
is.
others in
And
a new way.
the company's not a fan, right? The men, the people, the powers that be, they don't like it. They want their women, their girl. They want their agent in the office. They don't want her empowering her team. They want her bleeding, bleeding the company.
Wow.
And that was a big permission slip that I had to give myself. It's like
Mhm.
permission to do business differently. I'm no longer on the top of the like sales charts because I don't want to be. Like I don't want to sacrifice family and life to get there. I'm happy. I'm overjoyed with where my business is right now. And from other people, like from other people's perspective, it might just look kind of lackluster, but it's perfect for me. And so this permission to like build the business that we want, irregardless of what people say is a success, right? My team's running my agency. We're making money. Success. That's good. That's my definition of success.
Wow, what a beautiful example of your third framework demand,
Mhm.
because you're standing in your truth. You're doing what you need to do for yourself. You're still running your agency because your name's on it, right? Your
Yep.
team
Oh
is
yeah.
doing the daily work.
Hmm.
It's bold in some people might say, oh, she's not being authentic, but no, you're being more authentic because you're doing what your heart desires. And
Hmm.
the end result is the same. I'm sure you're being just as successful because you trained your team.
Hmm. Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to be there. I've learned that the hard way this the last month.
Yes.
For the first time in 17 years, I was not able to be there to facilitate a meeting. I had to step back and my team stepped in and the show still went on, as they say.
Beautiful.
Um,
Beautiful.
that's kind of the proof that you're doing that you set it up in a way that um, is in integrity,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. These permission slips are not always easy, but I think it's a fun way to look at it when we're weighing options, when we're
Hmm.
feeling stuck, when we're kind of caught up in what we want. Like if I could get that outside permission, if the fairy godmother is coming, what permission slip would she grant me to get me out of this situation or to move me a little bit forward or to hold my boundary here? Right? It's just a fun, easy framework to consider um, granting yourself so that you can move quicker through decisions in life.
Right. And I love this conversation because demanding it might be uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be easy. Doesn't have to be clean. Being unapologetically you is
Mhm.
not clean and tidy. It's a little messy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the end, I think that we're more authentically ourselves and we're caring for ourselves. And that's something that I think we need to support each other as women, especially support each other in. It's like it doesn't always have to look pretty
Hmm.
and have, sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes it's really messy. But if we're doing what we need to do for ourselves, it all works out. I feel like in my life, it always does.
Hmm.
It's a
It has been
process though.
Absolutely. It has been a messy year with the house and the lake and the moving and all the things, and it's worked out perfectly through all that mess and chaos.
Wow. Well, I love that. And that's recent. That's,
Hmm.
you're just walking through that, right?
We are. Yeah, I need to record a podcast with Tom, my husband, to share that story because I really haven't, other than, conversations like this, I haven't shared the whole thing. So that's on my list to do, share that journey and the ups and the downs and the tears and the decisions.
Wow. I thank you for being transparent and sharing it because sometimes we need a little bit more space and time before we're able to really process it and share with others. And you're kind of fresh off of it. You just
Yeah,
recently
I am.
moved and went through that process. So I just acknowledge you for that, for being able to. And I know that's part of your journey. Maybe that wasn't
Mhm.
the case for other things. Maybe you needed more space between
I
them.
did. I
But
did the Florence story, going back, that was 4 years ago, and I'm just talking about it.
wow.
Yeah.
But don't you think when you do it, you get more courage and clarity to be able to share it sooner?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. When I say share it, I'm sharing it publicly. My closest
Mhm.
of close people know that whole story.
Yeah.
Um, and I was
Yeah,
just on a
I'm not
walk.
saying you have to like shout
Yeah,
it
yeah.
on social media. You may not be
Yeah.
ready for that. I mean, I went through several health crises in 2017, and only my nearest and dearest friends knew about it
Mm,
because I needed to build up the courage myself to do it in a non-traditional way. I didn't go
mm,
with the traditional breast cancer therapy. I sought out a naturopath and did it a very non-traditional way. And that's not an issue now, but I wasn't strong enough early on to take on the naysayers who were making me bad. And I'm talking about family.
yeah,
Family
absolutely.
naysayers who were like, you're being irresponsible, you're being foolish, you're being stupid, all those lovely things that they say when you're feeling very vulnerable anyway. But anyway, sometimes we need to protect ourselves. That's
Absolutely.
that's a permission slip. I love your permission slip analogy. So that's a permission slip I gave myself to not
Mm,
have to explain myself, not have to ask for permission, not have
mm,
to get their acceptance. I needed to do what I needed to do, and I had a peace that the route that I chose was regardless of how it went, it was going to be okay,
beautiful.
you know? I want to be able to leave a little time here for our listeners to ask some questions and be able to enter into this beautiful conversation that we've been able to have. So, could you put a bow around like permission slips
Mm,
all need? So, we often talk
hmm.
about writing ourselves permission slips. And again, I love that analogy you use. I love to hear a few examples. So, what are some of the most common permission slips that women need to give ourselves? Perhaps permission
Mm.
to rest,
Trust
right?
yourself.
What else?
I think the biggest one is permission to trust yourself. I
Trust
really
yourself.
truly
Mm,
believe women
right.
have we have everything we need already. You have all the knowledge, you have all the experiences to create whatever you can dream up. So to trust that you're enough right now and that your dreams matter and that your experiments are worthwhile. Um, that would be, I think the biggest one to trust ourselves because this whole idea of outside approval, getting permission from other people is how we've been taught, which is completely eroded our self-trust. And so this is the invitation to lean back into.
Hmm. Yeah, to believe that we have good instincts.
Do. We do. We
You know,
know.
many of us, I'm included, my dad would say, you shouldn't think that, Cynthia. You shouldn't. My dad called me Cynthia. He's the only one. You shouldn't feel that. And so it took
Mm,
me many years of my life to realize I do have good instincts. I do have good intuition. that I can trust myself.
Mm.
And I don't think my dad did that in a mean way. I
Oh,
realized that many things that he went through in his life, he was trying to protect his daughter. But that's a process that we have to go through. You're right. I love that you answered that, just like knee-jerk reaction was trust yourself. That's such an important place to start.
yeah.
It may take us a while to get there. We might have to
Yeah.
rest. We may have to ask for help. We may have to slow down. We may have to start over, accept imperfection. But in the end, being able to just come to a place of trusting ourselves, regardless of the results, is honoring ourselves in such a beautiful way.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, Mari. Thank you so much. So, I'd love to open the lines right now. So, if you're joining us, this is a great time to have access to the amazing Mari and her framework that she's created and that she lives and authentically lives, to ask her questions, comment on things that we've just, enter into our conversation today. So, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask away.
I just want to say thank you.
Oh.
It's not very often. Like, I still can't share my story without crying. Like, I haven't been able to take the emotion out of it yet and be able to be like, yeah, this is what happened. And I can say that and like really sit in the power of it. But it's always refreshing to be able to see somebody else be able to do that and be like, hey, like, and this is how it's taken me from this to this, and just the self-reflection. Um, I 100% relate to like the wanting to run away and go and just the idea of literally, I was earlier today, I was avoiding work and instead I was plotting and planning trips. And I was like, what vacation and what are the things? And it kills me every year in December. I love Christmas, like in terms of decorating for it and just like the jolliness. I hate the holiday itself because of all of the meaning and the stuff that has been put on it. And my family and how that shows up is not something that's like fun to be around.
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
I hate how little work I have to do to keep myself busy during a time like when we usually take off and I'm like, "Oh my God, the idea of having to be but not getting to go anywhere like literally kills me inside." Like I've been sitting
Mm.
here forever just going, "Okay, am I doing a couple days in Leavenworth with my kid, but then I've got like the rest of the week and then what the hell am I going to do for 2 weeks at the end of the year?" Right? Like totally
Mm.
feeling sad about
Yeah.
Christmas when it's like my favorite like
Mm.
holiday. So I love that you were able to run away and go
Mhm.
like sit and heal that part of you. I'm not sure what part of me that is. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we could do that. Like we could just
yeah,
dip. I,
right. Totally piss everybody off, but I'd be like, yeah, let's do that, shall we?
Mhm. And
I've
everybody
threatened.
survived.
I've threatened
Yeah, right.
50 a year. My mom, I think, like fears, like she knows I'm on the edge of just being like I'm not going to show up to holidays anymore. I kind of already canceled one this year, so I'm like,
Mhm.
well, maybe it's baby steps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Mm. Thank you for being here and sharing. Yeah.
I'm curious though, just so for the coaching program, are
Mm.
you guys doing like set dates that you're doing, like everybody gets together and just coaches in a group model? Like, tell me more about how it
Mm.
works.
Yeah. So there are six coaches, and we all coach for 2 hours a month. And yeah, the times are all set like 6 months in advance, and it's all online. And so they coach for 1 hour, a master class on their niche. So, a mindset coach, a business coach, relationship coach, etc. And then there's a Q&A 2 weeks later so that you can come and really dig in and get your questions answered. And so, yes, it's all scheduled. It's all online. And we do some things in person as well, but one in January in Bellingham I called Jumpstart. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So everybody has like a set day that they do there. So you get like 6 hours of coaching
It's like 20. I
plus
mean,
six
and I hate
hours of
even saying that because
Q&A.
it's overwhelming. Yeah. It's like with everything, and I go live every Monday with like this, like stories. I share stories and inspo and like, let's make it a good week, or whatever we need. It's like over 20 hours of live FaceTime with a coach. And the invitation is to look at it as like a health club. So you're not going to do Pilates and the treadmill and yoga, all at once. You might be focusing on mindset for a while. And then you can dip into business. Like, it's very much set up to be a dip in, dip out on what you need. But overall, it's a goal getting container. We talk about goals every single week. We do experiments and I hold people accountable, kind of ride your ass a little bit about what you say you want to do.
Mhm.
And we get things done. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's a lot that you offer in terms of value for $97 a month. So yeah, and
Thank you.
kudos for flipping the model.
I know. Like, we're bucking the trend here.
Oh. Do
You're
you
a
guys,
trailblazer.
yeah.
You are. You're a trailblazer
Hmm.
in business and relationships, and that's beautiful. So I want to give anybody else a chance to, you know, feel free to unmute yourself. And if there's anything you want to share, a great opportunity before we close this fun
Tanya,
conversation.
Tanya's like, I get Maudie every week.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to, Crystal, you just led into a beautiful offer
Mm,
that Mari offers. So share about your 15-minute
mm.
permission granted opportunity that you offer.
I've opened up my schedule for 15-minute permission granted conversations. So for anyone who feels maybe a little stuck, maybe like they're waiting for the right time, they need a little nudge. We hop on the phone, not on Zoom. We just hop on the phone. I ask some targeted questions, grant you permission, send you on your way, and hopefully that opens the gates to what you need to do next.
Awesome. And I actually am going to look something up here because I wrote you a testimonial. So I
Mhm.
had an opportunity, and the last time you spoke, I'm like, I want to experience that. Can we do it now? And so it was very fun. And I'm just going to read my testimonial. Is that okay, Madi?
Yes, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
So my 15-minute permission granted session with Mari Wuellner was both inspiring and transformative in just a sorry, in just a few short minutes. Mari created a safe, judgment-free space where I truly felt seen, heard, and understood. Her thoughtful questions, intuitive insights, and genuine compassion helped me quickly identify what was holding me back, and more importantly, gave me the courage to grant myself permission to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. Madi has a remarkable gift for helping people uncover the truths they already carry within themselves. If you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or simply ready to step more fully into the life you were created to live, I wholeheartedly recommend spending time with Madi. Her coaching is empowering, uplifting, and has the potential to create lasting change, one permission slip at a time. So I hope that's helpful for anyone who's curious about this opportunity. And so they can contact you. What is the best way that you like to be contacted to take an opportunity?
Email is fine, and I created a easy, quick little landing page to book your call as well. And so I'm like, do I have access to that really quick to throw it
So
in
is
the
that the
chat?
cruisecc.com? Will that get
No, that's about the crew. So yes,
okay?
thecruisecc.com is great.
Okay.
But I'm going to just pop the permission slip link in the chat.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I'll add that to the description. down
Perfect.
below that you can access that. So I'm going to just grab that and I will add it. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of it because Madi is a great listener. And she has some beautiful frameworks and systems that she uses and to support us, to support each other. And they're ones that you've experienced yourself, like they've been time tested, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
totally.
yeah. So, well, I just want to thank you, Marty, so much. And for those of you who are listening today live or for the recording for our podcast, thank you so much for joining another episode of Conversation to Connect. Let's Get Real, powered by Exceptional Connections. Before we sign off, I want to kick it back to you. And Marty, leave us with any parting comments that maybe we haven't discussed here or you want to underline to share with our listeners to be able to kind of chew on after the fact before they have an opportunity to learn more about you.
Yeah. I think what I'm feeling on my heart right now is we're never truly stuck. There's always a way forward. And you already have everything you need.
Mm, that's really empowering. We're not lacking anything, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to just give
Well,
ourselves some
perfect.
space, right? I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Madi. Thank you for everybody who's listening. Appreciate um, you're chiming in and sharing your lives with us. And just remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks for joining us. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you.